welcome to the InGeneral podcast. My name's Jack, and I'm joined with Chris Pugh. How are you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. I'm in a hotel room in London, and yeah,
And now here you are talking to yourself.
that's sort of what it feels like.
This is episode 74 of the podcast. It's been a while since we have done this, but it's good to speak to you again. I mean, I did see you last week.
Yeah,
Always
no,
good to hear your voice.
we had a fun. I mean, it was just even a few days ago, not even just last week. We were together up until quite recently.
We were. We spent some time in London together.
Been a blast. Lots of adventures.
It was good fun. And you got to do the classic tourist stuff as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you took me to all the proper places.
Was this your first time across, that's what they say, right? Across the pond?
Yes, it is. My first time in London, first time in the UK, first time in Europe. You know, however you look at it, it's my first time over here.
Wow.
You know, I've done some traveling, but not in this neck of the woods.
And what did you think?
I am loving it. You know, I'm still here actually. I made it like an over 13 day long trip, and it's been a blast.
That's great, man. Well, yeah, I had a lot of fun when we were there. So, I mean, I think people are probably going to be wondering, what were we doing in London?
Riding the London Eye.
we did do that. No shame in saying we rode the Coca-Cola London Eye.
It's such weird branding, especially because I did not see anything Coke related other than that name around.
Well, it's just strange that, well, I don't know. I don't remember it being called that. It must have been in the past few years.
Damn corporate.
But it was, yeah, big and red. Everything was red and branded with Coca-Cola. But the thing they missed out here is, you know, everybody gets a free Coke when you go on the London Eye. Pay enough for the tickets, get a free Coke.
Yeah, try to sell it to you or something. I'm surprised that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that is not why we went to London. We went to London to explore the London Dungeon.
The London Dungeons, conveniently located next
To the
to
London
the
Eye.
London Eye.
And Shrek.
Dude, I can't believe Shrek has its own... Still, after all this time, Shrek has its own, what do you call it, exhibit in London?
Well, yeah, in
Permanent
London of all
exhibit?
places. It's like not like a theme park or something. So why is Shrek in London? Like, I don't. It's confusing.
I almost wish we did it.
I know we probably should have.
I think that would have been funnier. I mean, the London Dungeons is good. I needed you to experience that because of how... I know you love Universal and the
Yeah.
kind of walkthroughs they have there. And it's very similar to the Walking Dead one.
Yeah, but I felt like it was longer, a little more. The Walking Dead one, you just kind of breeze through. It's like, oh yeah, it's cool, but you don't have like those room to room stories. And I really enjoyed sort of the expanded storytelling aspect. It was
Yeah.
pretty fun. That
Yeah.
feeling for the parks for like Jurassic World.
Yeah, I mean, switch it out, yeah. You've still got a river ride. There's like a little boat ride.
Yeah,
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, got beheadings, cheesy photographs. It has everything you've ever wanted.
But I have to admit, whenever I experience, excuse me, whenever I experience a ride like that, or an exhibit, or a park like that, I always, and I think most JP fans are the same, you just can't help but think, oh, imagine if Jurassic Park had something like this.
Exactly. I mean, there's so much possibility. Hopefully, that's another podcast for another day. But hopefully, the theme parks kind of go down that route at some point.
Yeah, well, it remains to be seen what's going to happen with the ride at Universal in Hollywood.
Well, I mean, we know that it's pretty much the same ride, just with a Jurassic World overhaul and a refresh on some of the dinosaurs and sort of the story itself. But overall, it was like 90. The same skeleton of the track and everything along those lines.
Yeah, which is good. I think I love that original ride. I rode it for the first time at JP25, which is horrible to admit. But I even though it's, you know, the animatronics are dated now, some of it seems a bit like it really did need a refresh.
Oh yeah, major.
It's still the most enjoyable ride I went on.
Well, it's because all the other rides are like screen based and just like motion sickness, like the recipe.
Yeah, like the Mummy. Mm-hmm. There was the Mummy was really cool because
I like the Mummy.
Harry Potter was fun as well.
Yeah, you should ride the Mummy in Florida.
It's longer,
I like it
right?
even more in Florida. It's different there. And I wasn't a fan of The Simpsons, and I wasn't a fan of Transformers. Another one of those
No,
rides
The
felt.
Simpsons was that made me feel sick.
Yes, both those made me sick. Um,
Was
so
it
please,
Transformers? You say was that the other one?
Transformers. Yeah,
Yeah, that one too. That was the one where you're flying through skyscrapers and jumping
it,
off them and stuff,
it's
right?
funny because it was kind of like the Spider-Man ride in the Florida park, but like motion sickness version with Transformers rather than I don't know. I like the Spider-Man ride more, even though it kind of reminded me of it.
Yeah, but I mean, none of them have anything on Coca-Cola's The London Eye.
Not at all.
So, um,
So what were
I
we doing
mean,
in London?
so what were we doing in London? Well, we were staying at the Shoreditch, the Regret.
Yes, that is. No, wait. Was it Shoreditch? Or am I in
It was
Shoreditch now?
Shoreditch, yeah. Well, it was Shoreditch, but it was enough away from Shoreditch to kind of. It was Bethnal Green, really.
Okay.
The hotel was called the Shoreditch, and I guess would you recommend it, Chris?
You know what? From comparison to my other hotel now, yeah, I would, but it's dramatically overpriced.
Yes, for a hotel that's claiming to be 4 star, has a lovely interior, but I mean, it was just
It felt like a facade.
it felt like a front for something else because not many of the staff members seemed to know what was happening,
I,
or
it just felt like the Twilight Zone. Like we kind of felt like we were dealing with people emulating the best they know about human beings and the best they know about running a hotel, but it
truly,
wasn't quite 100% there, and it was so bizarre while we were staying at that place.
yeah,
Wasn't bad. Don't get me wrong. There
no.
was never like a moment where like, wow, this is awful. It was just, it was very weird.
I think the most bizarre experience was probably the sort of room refresh they do every day was different every day. Sometimes some days they would take the soap away and not replace the soap.
There'd be
Some
a
days
perfectly
they
good bar of soap. They'd take it and then not give us new soap.
and there was I think 3 days they left a couple of beer glasses, pint glasses, in there. Just
Yeah.
left them. Um, but I think the weirdest thing we witnessed was when we came back to the room after a long day, and your bed, you just had a sheet on the
Yeah,
bed.
they took away my blanket as far as I could tell. It was just the sheet. I'm like, well, okay.
My bed was made, so I lied down and very quickly realized they'd made my bed twice with Chris's blanket, which was just the strangest
I
thing.
don't know how that happens.
So they made my bed twice and left you with a sheet.
Or like little things like, opening the window and the handle falls off out the window. Um,
Oh, the fridge being hot.
the fridge. We opened the fridge and it felt like an oven. Eventually it turned cold, but I don't even understand how that happens.
It was dangerous, man. The not that this really matters, but it had a little 4:3 square television, which was fun.
Yeah, the television looked more like a security monitor that they kind of like rigged into being a television. Or how about the fact that we got two beds, but they smudged them together to be one anyhow, and like you can't move them, so it was just like one large queen bed rather than two doubles.
Yeah, tiny gap between, and
Yeah,
the
like
beds
you
are on
fall
wheels, so
in
if
like
you
ever
do
so
fall
slowly as the
in,
beds wedge apart, but like
it was weird. Also, my door key opened one of the staff doors, which is just
I
okay.
I think you're missing one crucial thing though from this experience. Kitchen's closed.
Twice this happened. We went down once together, right? What did we say? A lady came up to us and said, "Hey, you here for the breakfast or are you here for the lunch?"
Are you here to eat? And we're like, yeah.
We're
And
here
she's
to
like,
eat.
great.
Kitchen's closed.
It was
She
so
was
weird
like,
because like she went to the podium. It's like she was about to bring us in. And she's like, oh, good, you're here to eat. We're like, yep, perfect. And she's like, well, you can't. The kitchen is closed.
it's
And
like
then
she
she
was playing
walked
us.
away.
Sick burn. Yeah, she walked off.
And like we looked at first, I thought it was a joke. I think we both laughed because it was like the delivery of her is like, well, you can't. Kitchen's closed. We're like, oh,
Good.
she's serious and she's gone.
And then there was another time I sat down. I went up. I forget the name of this dude. I went up to get some lunch. It must have been about just before 2 o'clock. So lunch. And he sat me down. He gave me a menu, and then he brought me my coffee. And as I was going through the menu, he said, kitchen's closed. I went, oh, can I order now? He was like, no. And he grabbed the menu, closed it off, smiled at me, and walked off. I was like, dude, I was about to eat. I don't get it.
And to be clear, the kitchen is supposed to be open from like 7 a.m. until 11 p.m. And on top of that, there's like little things like the bar is supposed to be open till whatever time, but sometimes there's like, no, it's closed. And other times, they'd be serving you until like 4 a.m.
Yeah, we had a couple of beers in there about 4 a.m., I think.
Yeah, we went up at like 5. I could not figure out that. And there's just like a lot of little human interactions there with the staff that were just so confusing. So confusing.
Well, so in that sense, I would highly recommend the Shoreditch for the experience. Nonetheless, it's a fine hotel to stay in. It's not dirty or anything.
It's clean.
It's a pretty good area.
Nice.
You're close
the fan
enough
didn't
to
work for the shower.
Yeah, I mean you're close enough to the tube stations and stuff, so you're not out of there.
There was a nice heated mirror with some big old handprints on them, like somebody.
Oh yeah. This hotel, man. Honestly, stay and ask for room 129.
Relive our experience.
Yeah, get the hot fridge so you can warm up some of that food. Let's move on from the in Shoreditch, London, and let's talk about why we were in London, other than, of course, the hotel.
And it was an experience.
So you may remember back in 2016, we interviewed Colin Trevorrow about Jurassic World. We had a podcast interview with him, and at the end, he actually brought on special guest J.A. Bayona, which was a lot of fun, and we got to experience having a nice conversation with Colin about the movie. He got to talk in depth about some of the aspects of it, and we ended up with a really nice interview.
Mm-hmm.
So we did another one.
Sort of. So we were in the process of arranging another podcast, and then it kind of morphed into an in-person thing, but then it ended up being that we handled the interview separately from the in-person thing. We handled the interview over email, and that was taken care of, and we just got to go into Pinewood. And,
so we went to Pinewood Studios first time, which was really cool.
Yeah.
We got in and we met with Colin in his new, I think pretty new offices there. And then Colin proceeded to show us all of the Jurassic World 3 plans and scripts, and the movie's pretty much done. So he showed us that.
4, 5, 6, 7, all of them.
Yeah, they shot it back to back with Avatar using the same sets as Avatar.
It's already done.
2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So
it's
it's great.
It stars Nick Van Owen.
Nick, he's the lead, along with Eric Kirby.
Yes.
So they're bringing back the characters as we'd hoped.
And Billy Brennan.
And the whole, Jurassic World 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 10 are going to be exclusive to VR headsets.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty much a VR movie.
Yes.
This is trilogy's
absolutely
franchise.
Innovative. Dinosaurs Go to War, the saga.
Yeah, so Jurassic World 3 kicks off at the end of Fallen Kingdom directly, with a shot of Vegas, and then all of a sudden military helicopters fly in, blasting the pteranodons. But when we cut inside the helicopter, it's raptors with guns.
So I feel like at this point, pains me to say it, but we do have to make a disclaimer. This is all obviously a joke, because otherwise I just foresee somebody not understanding that this is a joke.
I don't know what you saw when you went to Pinewood, Chris, but obviously this is a joke. I think more importantly, but easy to figure that one out, because me and Chris wouldn't be happy about any of that. I'm kind of game for raptors with guns flying helicopters, but probably not in the Jurassic franchise. So
Mattel's really serious about that Dino Riders movie. Maybe that is the outlet to explore that energy.
Yeah, I think it needs to. I think it should probably be put somewhere else. The John Sayles script kind of proves that it can work, just not really within the franchise that we're currently in.
But so we did go to Pinewood. We did meet with Colin. It was a really, really cool experience. I don't know, Jack. Do you want to talk more about that in seriousness, or?
No, I think we should move on.
Okay.
No, it was. It was really great. Colin obviously is wonderful at interacting with fans, as we've seen online, And yeah, it was really nice to be able to kind of have a sit down and chat about Jurassic Park. And I think the most important thing is I asked Colin if he likes The Lost World, and he does. And I think that
Biggest
kind of
takeaway.
answers. That's the biggest takeaway. That kind of answers everything I needed to know about everything in the world. So yeah, I mean that's all I have to say about it.
Absolutely.
That part is true. I think it's going to be hard from this point forward to tell what's true and what isn't in this podcast because we're just big jokers, aren't we, Chris? But
you know,
that one was real. He does enjoy The Lost World, and it is. I mean, he said this so many times, but all the movies in this franchise are canon.
it's I don't know where this misunderstanding of people thinking that the Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 are not canon, thinking that Isla Sorna no longer exists. It's like, no, those movies are still very much canon. I have no idea what's going on with those islands, if they're still alive and kicking or what at this point, but they're canon nonetheless. They haven't been written out of continuity. In fact, I mean, even the evolution of Claire makes that clear because they're getting the dinosaurs from Isla Sorna. Colin has gone on record to say, yes, that's a canon prequel.
And that is something that. Oh yeah, no, I was just going to confirm that point. Yeah, no, it was a really great chat. And while obviously we didn't learn about the next movie, we're not the kind of people that would be told about that kind of thing. But it was a really, really good experience, and I think the interview that coincides with our visit answers a lot of questions that listeners may have about the future of the franchise and also about Fallen Kingdom. So we talked a bit about Emily Carmichael, who's co-writing Jurassic World 3 with Colin. We talked about dinosaurs in the franchise, and Chris obviously managed to sweep in a question about feathers.
And Jack, what do you think about that answer? What do you think it means?
Well, I think it means what you and I have discussed before, and what your kind of theory on it has been. As soon as Colin initially said, before Fallen Kingdom, that, other companies now have access to this technology, which means you've kind of got a Mac versus Windows type scenario going on. All this code is open source, or at least it's available. I think it means that other companies could breed whatever kind of species they want. And if
and their techniques might be different, which would allow for some different interpretations of both existing and new species, opening the window, theoretically, for feathered animals in some capacity. But he makes it very clear in the interview, which will probably be online by the time this is up, that they are not in the business of retconning old designs.
And I think
which I'm glad about.
His kind of reason for that as well is that the dinosaurs that Dr. Wu made with InGen back before the incident in Jurassic Park were made with reptilian DNA, as we know, so which kind of explains the reptilian design, even though that was the science at the time and the paleontology at the time. Obviously, now we know some dinosaurs had feathers, so modern companies within this Jurassic Park universe could create feathered dinosaurs of certain species. I wouldn't want to see a feathered T-Rex. I wouldn't want to see a feathered Velociraptor, but yeah, I mean, some of the funkier, weird little dinosaurs that you show us from time to time could work really well.
It's kind of funny because, like, if they were to introduce a feathered Velociraptor as like a real Velociraptor, it would feel like a completely different species, anyways. Like, it would be this tiny little medium-sized dog animal running around nipping at the heels of like Jurassic Park Velociraptor. So it would never be something that would threaten its existence off the food chain of Jurassic Park. It would be such a different thing in general. Hey, that's the name of our podcast.
InGeneral podcast. Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think it's a reasonable. Well, it's a great explanation, actually, to what we might see. So, while Fallen Kingdom may have ended with only a small number of dinosaurs being taken from this auction, there's obviously there's 4 years between those two movies that you don't know what happened on other poachers may have already been to the island. DNA may have come off in other means, which means companies around the world could have been reverse engineering species or simply breeding new species for themselves. So we don't know what state the world is going to be in when Jurassic World 3 opens, but
I've speculated about that for a while on Twitter, about like between Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, those islands were kind of left abandoned. And there's plenty of opportunities for people to come in and poach those animals, especially after the San Diego incident when they found out they existed. And then flash forward to the end of Jurassic World, there was also a lot of opportunities there beyond Mills. But I've also even said, like, hey, there was a petting zoo. People could, pet a dinosaur, get a little DNA underneath their fingernail, and then boom, they have that DNA. If they really wanted to smuggle out dinosaur DNA, they could do that. And they don't need the Hammond recreation technology at that point because it's already completed stable DNA. Now, however, if they came out and said, hey, we made a dinosaur, InGen would probably come and say, well, let me see your DNA, because they probably have little codings that kind of are copywritten or something along those lines. So they probably publicly couldn't say, but I totally can see a world where it's like, oh, by the way, other people are making dinosaurs, but now that InGen and Mizrani are finished, at least I assume they're finished. Do we even know if they're finished?
Well, Doctor Wu under Jurassic World was never working for InGen. Well, okay, that's a broad statement. InGen in the Jurassic World movie is more of a military op compared to
they're like a private military outing
group
of
kind of thing, yeah. That are sort of working with Mizrani, but kind of it's kind of unclear that sense.
Mizrani acquired InGen, and InGen it's like Mizrani kind of adopted the genetic program into Mizrani's own programs, and they kind of focused InGen on the private security aspect. At least that was sort of my take on it. But and nonetheless, what I'm saying is, I'm assuming after the events of Jurassic World, those companies may not have the claim over their proprietary genetic technology. I don't know. I mean,
well, that wasn't discussed.
Yeah, it was never discussed. So I'm actually kind of curious because I'm saying this now, and then I'm thinking like, well, maybe I'm just still kind of wrong on this. Maybe it is still sort of like a seedy illegal operation type of thing that these people can't really do.
So Colin ended his statement with, that leads to innovation and new opportunities for us to introduce species that represent the full spectrum of our knowledge, which hints at we know so much more now about dinosaurs, which means feathered dinosaurs could be something that we see.
On top of that, there was just a Jack Horner interview where Jack Horner said, yeah, there's feathers in Jurassic World 3.
No way.
Yeah. Good old Jack Horner. So, removing any ambiguity from the equation. Now, given he's also said that the Jurassic, right before, when Jurassic World was filming, he was like, oh, I was on set, and if they make dinosaurs without feathers, then I wouldn't be, a good paleontological supervisor. And then, obviously, Jack Horner,
He's a good guy.
Good, really fun guy.
So, that's sorry, I'm pulling up the questions here.
But he's not a filmmaker, I guess is what I should say. He's not the filmmaker, so he's not the one ultimately in charge of these decisions.
So I guess some of the end of Fallen Kingdom may be something that people worry a little bit about. We asked the question, many assume Jurassic World 3 will feature dinosaurs terrorizing cities and suburbs, with fans referring to properties like Godzilla and Planet of the Apes. We kind of asked, do you plan to keep the dinosaurs in the wilder, more untamed landscapes? And Colin gave a really great answer to something.
It was the answer I wanted.
It got me really excited. So he said, I just have no idea what would motivate dinosaurs to terrorize a city. They can't organize. Right now we've got lethal predators in wild areas surrounding cities all over the world. They don't go pack hunting for humans in urban areas. The world I get excited about, and this is what excites me, is the one where it's possible that a dinosaur might run out in front of your car on a foggy back road, or invade your campground looking for food. A world where dinosaur interaction is unlikely, but possible, the same way we watch out for bears and sharks. We hunt animals, we traffic them, we herd them, we breed them, we invade their territory, and we pay the price. But we don't go to war with them. If that was the case, we'd have lost the war a long time ago. And I think, again, that dispels any rumors about dinosaurs in war or dinosaurs with guns. But it's great. I mean, it's that one line. The one where you might hit a dinosaur, it might run out in front of your car on a foggy back road. That's we're getting into Bigfoot territory now.
Or even just, grizzly bear.
No,
they're out
Bigfoot.
there. But
Bigfoot.
Jack and his Bigfoot. Um,
Bigfoots, there's loads of them. But
uh,
yeah, no, I like that image alone, a foggy back road at night through a forest, in upstate, well, further up in California, or even if we're going up into Canada,
mhm.
that's the kind of thing I'd want to see. Imagine a raptor darting out and there being this whole, wait, did we just see
See a
that?
Velociraptor. Like
That's
wait,
the realism behind it. These animals, once they're out in the open and they're free from any human captivity, they're not going to gravitate towards humans. They're going to gravitate to
the
what
wilds.
the wild. Yeah.
Animals are naturally very shy. They like they enjoy their space and their safety and their seclusion, and they favor environments that offer what they need evolutionarily. And that was the answer that I wanted because there's
Mm.
been long been the assumption online. Everyone kind of assumes it's going to be dinosaurs in the suburbs and so on. And while I mean it's always possible that the plot might find a way to push a sequence into something like that, it's not the movie.
No. The only one, I guess, with the way that pteranodons act in both Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom for the most part, they'll attack a city because they seem like bloodthirsty, like
They just seem
man.
like they seem kind of. I mean, especially the Jurassic World ones, they seem just like hungry, dumb, almost like a fish or like a pelican or something. Just kind of like, or a pigeon. Um, but like an aggressive pigeon that can eat you.
No, there's no wonder they went to, they ended up in Vegas. That was no coincidence.
Um,
They're going to party.
yeah, seriously. No. And then
But I
that is
love it as
something
well.
I'm
You
kind
think
of
about,
curious. Were they just passing through? Are they gonna find an environment that better suits them? End up in like the Florida Everglades?
that's the thing, because there'd be a year or so if these pteranodons are migrating,
3 years,
where
I
people
assume,
would,
because
well, yeah,
because
well, people would see them and then it would be the whole, did we really see that? And then it would be this mystery creature that people across America are seeing, depending on which way they're flying. Some people might get footage, some people might get pictures, and you've got this whole kind of awesome, mysterious story about these dinosaurs living in the real world, where I guess if the US government are aware that this has happened, or any government is aware, they're going to be trying to limit civil unrest in regards to this.
it opens up the whole. I mean, I think that is a continuation of the debate for dinosaur rights, animal rights. So now you have this major issue of an invasive species, but what is the appropriate response? Is the appropriate response immediately and only lethal action? Is it trying to round them? Like, what? How do you handle something like this? What is the precedent? Now
Yeah.
that they're on soil that necessarily it has animal rights laws, so like how is it handled? So I imagine it would kind of spiral into a lot of debates, each with probably equal merit.
And we brought this topic up with Colin in our chat. I said there was an interview with Colin a while back where he said, imagine a world where there is a certain forest or jungle in the real world that people don't go into because there's a pack of raptors in there or there's a dinosaur in that forest, so people naturally stay away from it. That's the world that excites me. And that's the same as potentially having a dinosaur run out on a foggy back road.
Mm-hmm.
It's the mystery and the elusiveness of these creatures, which is part of what made the original movie so great, is that they can kind of hide and they hunt you.
Mm-hmm.
And
They feel like
it
animals
like
in the
many,
original movie. They're not
yeah,
bloodthirsty They're not bloodthirsty monsters, but they're animals, and they can be lethal. And there's a
yeah,
certain wild and unpredictable sense, and it's oftentimes what you don't see, which leaves you a little on edge. It's that unknown factor. Are they there? Are they watching? Are they not there?
yeah, yeah.
And that's exciting to me, as well as the prospect of now other companies. I guess the whole open source comment, which is funny because that actually dates back to um, pre-release chatter for Jurassic World 2.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think there's a lot of exciting prospect there. It'd be really interesting if we could finally circle back to Dotson's story arc to see if something like Biosyn or a company that they make up that still has something to do with Dotson um, coming into play. That would kind of be
Well, that would make a great sort of prequel spin-off type story where we have Biosyn's team heading to Nublar somewhere between or somewhere after the events of Jurassic Park, before the Lost World or before Masrani had anything to do with those islands, sneaking DNA off, and secretly all this time they've been breeding their own subspecies
You
of
don't even need
dinosaur.
to. I mean, yes, that would be awesome, but we wouldn't even need to see that. I mean, I would love to be
Oh no, we got
introduced.
to see that. You
I mean, I
somebody
would
who
like
returned
to
to
see. Don't get
Nublar
me
in the
wrong, but we
'90s.
don't.
That now that I want that, and I also want sauna in the '80s
In the 80s.
before her in the yeah well
Well,
before when they were still breeding there, an operational sauna. Could you imagine?
yeah, I'm curious. So, I mean, there's obviously a timeline which can be heavily referenced, especially with the Masrani Global website. But I'm very curious on, like, now with Fallen Kingdom and the concept of a lot of preliminary work was done in Lockwood's, basement, essentially. Um, I'm very curious to know how long these prospects were going on. And to be honest, I can't imagine Hammond and Lockwood buying multiple islands for dinosaurs before they found out, yes, we can clone them.
Mm,
So I don't know. There's so many stories to be told in this universe. Whether or not we actually see them, or we just kind of see the puzzle pieces align in present day.
yeah.
I'm definitely fascinated, but I definitely would like to see a continuation of Dodson's story. I mean, obviously you'd recast him, but I'd still like to see a continuation of that story.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the questions we asked was, will the visual style of Jurassic World 3 be influenced by what J.A. Bayona and Oscar Fora brought to the table? Now, Fallen Kingdom is one of the most well shot Jurassic movies. They're all well shot. All the cinematographers involved with the franchise have been incredible. But Fallen Kingdom had a real special look to it.
Almost like a
And Oscar
gothic
Fora and yeah,
storybook style.
towards the end it really did. Stuff on the island was really nice. Bayona and Oscar Fora really shot that well. So I wondered sort of why Colin had decided to work with John Schwartzman again after seeing the difference between Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom, both just completely different styles. And Colin kind of mentioned how he says they achieved something so gorgeous to look at. My instinct is to now break the classical language of these films a bit and plunge us into a world that feels real and naturalistic. I want to go outside these oh wait, no, what is it? I'm misreading. I want to go outside into environments we've never seen these animals in. I'm watching a lot of Planet Earth. So I kind of gather from that he wants to really. It's gonna feel much closer, much more almost first person. I feel like he wants us to be way more involved, way more on the ground,
And
way more.
I think Planet Earth really alludes to that naturalistic sense of the animals, and there's something beautifully poignant about Planet Earth. And you just kind of get out there in the mud and the muck, and then you have these beautiful swooping types of shots, which are also very unique. I think that we're really going to get this feeling of just like being in the environment. Well, I guess that is sort of what you're saying, although like just feeling the world around you, really appreciating the world, necessarily not just the set piece, the action, but also just the environment that these dinosaurs are living in. And what I
Yeah,
hope that means is we might also see these dinosaurs in some very beautiful and unique locations that we haven't seen them in before.
agreed. And I hope it means I hope that the ending sort of sequence of Jurassic World was not really a personal favorite of mine. The way it was shot was too almost. It was just this big spectacle. A camera was floating around, and it wasn't really from anybody's perspective at this point. It was as if there was a helicopter circling them. I kind of would love to avoid that, especially if we're in a much grittier environment. It's not a big theme park anymore. I think that kind of shot wouldn't really suit. I'd like to see more gritty, on the ground cinematography.
Yeah, although I mean, Gritty and Planet Earth, I'm not sure if I would necessarily connect those two together. I would say maybe
Oh no,
Raw. Maybe
absolutely.
Raw would be a
I
more.
guess, but I guess by Planet Earth though, because you couldn't really have, that in Planet Earth that the super extreme close up shot with a very long lens, where it um, pinpoint focus on this animal that's tiny. You couldn't have that exactly with Jurassic Park, but it kind of is reminiscent of the shot of the snake and the velociraptor that's hunting Muldoon. You've got that kind of shot through the jungle, almost blink if you miss the raptor. You see what
I mean,
you
I
know what
mean,
I mean?
have you watched a lot of Planet Earth?
Oh yeah, I love
Because I
Planet
would
Earth.
say a lot of the shots are also those big swooping shots, though. and then you get intimate, and then you
Of
have these
planes and stuff,
yeah,
yeah.
then you have these beautiful kind of like shots of like the planes and the animals are out there meandering around. And it's like almost if you framed a person though, and what the person is doing with them, that is the backdrop or that is the foreground. I could almost imagine that. And just kind of
Did you
getting
ever
into it
see?
with them.
I'm not sure if it was Planet Earth series or not, but it was called The Hunt, and it was all about animals hunting, and it was the Planet Earth team, I believe. It was definitely
I think I caught that on Netflix.
yeah. So that had some. All I could think of with that was raptors out in the open hunting, because it was following. If I remember correctly, it was a long time I saw it. If I remember correctly, it was following a pack of. Were they leopards? No, something like that. But they were hunting, and it was this really long sequence where you had like, helicopter shots flying over them, showing this sequence, and all I could think of was velociraptors, and I thought that would suit so well. So yeah, I think that's something we may see.
Uh, yeah, and I mean that's something that I've also kind of always caught the vibe of in like those documentaries where you have these beautiful shots where you see the wolves hunting bison, and you have those shots tracking over top of them and then alongside them, and you just kind of see these coordinated pack hunting mechanisms, and like, everything that you see is beautiful and wild and raw, and you're just like, damn, this is what animals look like when they hunt, and it's nuts, but it's also beautiful almost and scary,
Yeah,
but beautiful.
it's scary. Yeah, it's raw.
Yeah.
So there was another question where we asked about did any. So the question was, did any fan and/or critical feedback to Jurassic World help shape your approach to writing Fallen Kingdom? And there was a really interesting answer where he reveals that the auction sequence was originally written as a dirty, unsavory bunch of animal traffickers huddled in a basement trading lives for money, and that Bayona's vision of that scene was what we see in the movie, a much more upplayed, flashy spectacle. And it was interesting, the two differences there. I mean, personally, would have preferred the grittier approach, but that wasn't Bayona's vision for the movie.
Yeah, no, I think that's it's interesting though because I think so interplaying though with the question. Um, Sorry, I need to open that up in front of me. Interplaying with the question though itself, it's how does that shape though to the feedback? I guess is my question.
Well, so the answer was we definitely took a turn into the darker side of
Okay.
Jurassic Park with that script. The first film was a bright, colourful pop adventure. With Fallen Kingdom, we were looking to explore the uglier side of humanity and our cruel treatment of living creatures. But I think Bayona kept us from going too far. He embraced the darker elements, but also brought his own sense of playfulness and humour to the proceedings when we initially wrote the dinosaur auction, etc., etc. And he says, I think it played much better for kids, and that's the right choice. When balanced against the poor treatment of animals we were seeing, it could have become very sad.
That's actually a lot of commentary I hear from people who didn't like Fallen Kingdom. A lot of times, a lot of casual viewers are saying it was just too sad. I didn't like it. It was too sad.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get that. It balanced it relatively well,
Yeah, oh, I
but
think that it balanced. I think that it probably went a little too playful, but not that there's anything inherently wrong with playfulness. Just sometimes the timing of it kind of hit me with some whiplash, and
yeah.
and it sometimes just felt almost like kind of suspense of disbelief breaking for me personally. Um, like the Sinoceratops licking over the wake or whatnot. Um, uh, but yeah, no. I agree.
So Colin went on to say, the fans keep my compass pointed in the right direction. Deep fans watch movies differently than the casual viewer, the same way critics watch films differently than the general audience. None of them are wrong, so I do a lot of listening, and every year more dinosaur fans are born. Are borns? Are born. These movies need to work simultaneously for those kids, for adults who love the old films, and for a diverse global audience, including some who didn't even have American movies available to them when the first film came out. It's a delicate balance. And he feels like he's made a mix of bold choices and safe ones. Hopefully, once his tenure is done, yeah, he says, hopefully, once my tenure is done, the fans will look back and feel like I was a careful custodian. And I think Jurassic World 3 sounds like after this interview may go down a direction that fans like you and I have wanted to see.
Uh, I mean, so it's interesting because it's really hard to put a pinpoint on what it is we want to see. I don't think it's something that we can necessarily vocalize by specific metrics, rather than it's just overall Jurassic Park was such a special movie because it wasn't too action heavy. It was smart, but it was fun. It was adventurous, but it was dark. It was playful, but it took itself seriously. And it had all these sort of contrasting elements, and I think it balanced them perfectly. I guess it's just sort of something that we're looking for. Similarly, you and I had an interesting debate of whether or not we would want if Jurassic Park would we want a rated R Jurassic Park. And we both agreed that we wanted a Jurassic Park that took itself a lot more seriously. But, I kind of was more team like, hey, I think it could stay PG-13. I'd rather it stay PG-13. And you were like, you kind of ventured like, no, we can push it further.
Well, I think if Jurassic Park was released now, it wouldn't be a PG.
But it was never PG in the US, to be fair.
What was it, PG-13?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think it would be pushed higher.
Oh, no, Jurassic Park would, no. We got.
I think it would be. Think about movies that are censored these days, and the kind of movies that are R-rated.
We don't get a lot
of
censorship in the U.S. unless it's like sex and violence, like sex.
Yeah, there's more.
Violence,
I think there's more censorship in the U.S. than there is for the BBFC in the UK.
I don't think so. I don't really know of any big violent related movies or related movies that got censored.
Yeah, I mean even Overlord.
No, it wasn't censored. That just apparently Paul didn't think that was very gory.
I think it was censored, man. The BBFC cut things very differently to the way the US do. But
no, I mean, I'm telling you, we really don't get gore censored over here. We really don't.
Strange.
It's mainly it's mainly nudity and sexual related content.
I think the main movies would never need to go R-rated, but I would love to see a spin-off or something in the same universe that's rated R, for the very sense of I think that's more like the book, and I just feel like it could be done. I also agree with you that it doesn't need to, but for a spin-off or something in the same universe down the line, I'd happily take an R-rated Jurassic. I think it would be more in touch with the book.
Yeah, you know what? That's interesting. The book, very much. If you did a one-to-one adaptation of the book, it would very much be a rated R movie. There's no doubt about it. I
think there's scope for it. The franchise is dinosaurs and humans together. You could very easily go R-rated with it. There are multiple stories to be told, and ideally multiple stories to be told after Jurassic World 3.
I mean, personally, in terms of like violence, and this is something I said, and this is just a personal take. And of course, it might actually prove your point because it's in a rated R film. But the furthest I would like to see it go is like the bear attack scene in The Revenant. I think that is the perfect, vivid way to kind of showcase. You really wanted to push it to the extreme, what it's like to be attacked by an animal, and then, of course, in the Jurassic Park movie, that case is a dinosaur.
But
it's
less about gore and blood.
I
don't need to see intestines being held and hanging out somebody's stomach. But scenes like The Revenant.
Mm-hmm. But I still think that possibly that bear attack scene, without the rest of the movie in it, could possibly be in a PG-13 film. But I'm not entirely certain because I don't know the exact metrics of it. You know what though? Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. But ultimately, I feel that Jurassic Park does a beautiful job, the film, of interpreting the tone, that serious tone of Jurassic Park the novel, but making it PG-13 rather than rated R. And I think that there's just a case to be put forward that I would just be happy with slightly more serious films like Jurassic Park in the future. I would love.
And The Lost World, which is even a tad darker.
Or yeah, exactly, to an extent, yeah.
So we talked to Colin about that, and we talked to him about the kind of expanded universe that Jurassic Park is now, or that Jurassic World is now building. So we've had smaller things like the VR experience. I say smaller. It's that was one of the best things that has come out of this franchise. The Felix and Paul VR experience.
The one that you follow Blue on her.
The one that you follow
adventures.
Blue, yeah, absolutely brilliant. We've also had games. Console and mobile games. So we had Jurassic World Evolution Frontier. We had the Ludia games on phones, which are just pay to play. We had Lego Jurassic World, which was cool.
Yeah.
And I think Colin has been working a lot behind the scenes to ensure that even after Jurassic World 3 is done, there will be content.
I mean, I think it's just kind of obvious when you see these licensing agreements with Mattel and Lego and so on, or even things like Jurassic World the exhibition and more. When they when they announce these projects, they talk about like an 8-year plan and so on. It's like you realize that things are definitely like there's a sustainability program in process,
Yeah.
and it's exciting. And Evolution is a great example for like a AAA video game finally in terms of quality and budget. And I would love to see something like that with Jurassic World Survivor, that game that came so close into being and then kind of dropped off the face of the earth. I'm hopeful.
Last of Us style game.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that something like that will come into being. And what's cool about the Jurassic World video games is we really haven't caught wind of them until moderately soon before release. So it's very possible that like we might be surprised by a video game next year or the year after. That's what I'm hopeful for.
I do hope so. Obviously, there's DLCs coming, or there will be new DLCs coming for Jurassic World Evolution. But while that's a great park builder, yeah, I want to see a Last of Us style
Last of Us,
survival
Alien
game.
Isolation, something that really puts the emphasis on adventure,
I don't
exploration,
need to
and
shoot
survival.
at dinosaurs, and I know that's something Universal don't want us to do anyway.
Yeah.
Survival is different.
Exactly.
Last of Us is different. Gun is a last resort in The Last of Us, and I think that would be the same in this case.
Yeah, no, I think that is the route to go for. I think that you can really explore some really great things that way.
So you can check out the rest of the interview on JurassicOutpost.com. It's a really great interview, so huge thanks to Colin and his team for setting this one up and for speaking with us. Any further thoughts on that, Chris?
I think I just want to emphasize that, we both kind of said this on Twitter today. We're both really excited for the future of the franchise. Probably the most we've been in a long time. And it's funny because that makes it almost seem like I didn't like Jurassic World, and I like Jurassic World, but just something about it feels very reinvigorating and very fresh moving forward. And it's sort of the breath of air that I've kind of wanted to hear from the franchise, and I kind of feel like we're moving towards that, and that has me quite excited.
Yeah, I hope so too. I've been hoping for a movie that's slightly more suspenseful and has thriller aspects more than Fallen Kingdom, more than Jurassic World had. Something that's a little bit more in line with the first two movies, and I we understand that the Hollywood is very different now, and the way movies are made is very different, especially for big blockbuster franchises like this. So I'm just hoping that this world that Colin is building, and Jurassic World 3 and potential future spin-offs, if they ever do it, or if they ever go down a similar route to Star Wars, I hope we see more of those aspects return. I hope it gets a bit more suspenseful. I hope we are able to get a bit more contained with the story. I said this to Colin, actually, the interview he did where he said about there's a forest with raptors in and there's a border. People just don't go into that forest. It becomes like law. It becomes almost, is there something in there? That's a story in itself. That's a spin-off movie. And I would love to see something along those lines. Also, imagine an opening scene set if these dinosaurs are now in the human world, but they are discreet and they hide. Imagine the opening scene of a family driving down a road at night, or somebody driving down a road at night, and they hit a raptor, or they hit a species of dinosaur. They get out, and it's like, what the hell is this?
They tie it to the roof. They start driving. It wakes up. It's Harry and the Hendersons, but it's blue.
But it's blue. Blue and the Hendersons. Blue and the Gradys. It could be called that.
Blue and the Kirbys.
You know what? Blue and the Kirby's. I'll take it.
Yeah, no, I think that there's a lot. There's so much you can play with a variety of different genres, and it's exciting. I think the story has a lot of prospect in that direction. But yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of hopeful. It was, I think, in another interview that Colin said that he wanted to bring back the techno thriller aspects, science techno thriller aspects of Jurassic Park into Jurassic World 3. I believe we covered that on Outpost as well. That has me excited because I think that there was a certain very unique interplay that Jurassic Park achieves. That I don't know, it incorporates the science and these characters that are more serious into the plot in such a relatable way, um, as opposed to kind of your average Joes or more playful characters, which I guess Owen isn't much of an average Joe, nor is Claire, but they feel a little bit more, you know, one sort of your rough and raw American, and the other one's, kind of somebody who worked corporate in a very tough job and who is now just trying to make the world a bit of a better place. But with Grant, you had this sort of personality-wise ambiguous paleontologist. Sattler, you had this incredibly intelligent and outgoing and smart person. Malcolm, you had whatever the hell Malcolm is, just an enigma of Jeff Goldblum. And I mean, I don't know. I think that, but each of those characters were played pretty straight. I'd say the most humor came from Jeff Goldblum, but it was very reserved, kind of raw and dry and sarcastic.
Yeah, and I think as well, those movies were obviously about paleontologists and scientists that had never, dinosaurs didn't exist anymore. They dug them up, and then they were suddenly thrown into a world where they're almost, you could say, dreams, the things they studied, now are in front of them. And that's something you can't really have in a modern Jurassic Park, obviously, because, dinosaurs have existed for a long time now. But it would be nice to see a paleontologist, a scientist, or a veterinary nurse, or somebody who even worked on the island as a lead character. Somebody that maybe has previous experience with them, other than training velociraptors or something similar, or somebody that never got the chance to go to the island.
Well, I guess that was Zia, never getting the chance to go to the island, which is But yeah,
strange in itself.
I agree. I think that we need to get somebody that's a little bit more qualified to tumble around with the dinosaurs.
Yeah, and I don't need a big macho man for the lead.
No,
because the originals never had a big macho man.
I don't need any prolonged tracking shot fight scenes.
Yeah. Oh my god. So, I think that pretty much summarizes everything with the interview. There's obviously slightly more online if you check it out on Jurassic Outpost. And yeah, there'll be some new fun stuff coming to the Outpost very soon.
Yeah, are there any other small subjects? I mean, we took an extended break from the podcast and we're back. So I realized that there are probably 1,000 things that we haven't talked about that people probably wanted to hear our input on. But I think that most of the things, if they're in the past firmly, we're going to move past them and look to the future.
Absolutely.
But is there anything else that you wanted to touch on now that we kind of have reawakened the podcast from its hibernation?
I guess there was I'm just going through the front page now. There was the interview that Bayona will not have an official role with Jurassic World 3, but did say himself that he would love to return to the franchise in the future.
I mean, I think that's exciting. I think Bayona could do fun things with the franchise. So, hey, if there is an outlet for that and he wants to do it and it makes sense, then count me in. I'll be there.
Absolutely.
And Mattel, with they're up for the Toy Awards of 2018, I believe, for the Jurassic toy line. Go ahead and vote for that because in my firm belief, I believe they're fully qualified to win that award. And the Jurassic World toys this year have just continued to innovate and refresh and be put out for really affordable prices and just continuously expand. And already the 2019 toys are landing on store shelves and they're looking great. And there's a lot of cool new species, so that's exciting.
And speaking of affordable, in the not-so-affordable category, there is some wonderful Chronicle Collectibles that have been announced. Unfortunately, Chronicle, they are very high quality. They are highly priced. There's a Rotunda Rex.
I'm not a fan of it. It doesn't look right.
See, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's really great. It's the classic stance at the end of Jurassic Park when dinosaurs ruled the Earth.
The Rex
it's got a beautiful base. You can't deny that.
The base is one of the most beautiful bases I've seen on a Jurassic Park piece ever, actually.
Yeah, Chronicle have nailed the base there. It's really, really nice. The T-Rex, what's wrong with the Rex, Chris? You tell me.
It just the body, the proportion. There's just little things about the design itself that just looks kind of chunky and weird. I don't know. It doesn't look. I would have to probably take it, look at it in person, compare it. But just to my eyes, the design doesn't quite look like it's right. To boil it down.
The next piece they did was a Sexy Malcolm piece. Now this, I feel like, how much was this in the end?
Like $400 or something ridiculous.
So I feel like it's $600.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So I feel like this piece is something that everybody would want. You know, the whole Sexy Malcolm thing. There was a massive, massive Sexy Malcolm in London. Big, big statue put up at the Thames. That's the kind of thing people want on their desk, and that's why people are buying the Funko Pop. This Sexy Malcolm, this realistic, really good-looking Sexy Malcolm on the Jurassic Park base, could be $100.
I would go even further and say, do it the way they did that ThinkGeek T-Rex for $60. So they got down to
the gold
stores.
one. Yeah.
I think that's the way to do something like that. Do a meme, a novelty
it's a
item like that.
It's a really great piece, but I feel like it's slightly too big.
Way too big and way too expensive. No, people want it around 12 inches long, and they want to be able to put it on their desk.
Yeah, I feel like that could be really great.
Affordable for everybody. That like $60. Like, yeah, it's a chunk of cash, but it's something that you like. You can do. You can easily afford it.
Yeah. Now there's also Iron Studios unveiled an incredible Jurassic Park Velociraptors in the kitchen.
Everything Iron Studios has been doing has been completely up my alley. I've been blown away. I think that their sculpts have been the most accurate. I think their paint jobs have been the most accurate. I think their prices are incredibly competitive.
Tim's like, everything about Tim's great except the face.
Yeah, I will agree. Tim could use a little bit of work. It's a little
But the Raptors themselves are absolutely gorgeous. I want those Raptors on their own.
Yeah, no. I think they sell them on their own.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah, I
think those are so similar to the. I mean, they're perfect. They look like the animatronics.
Yeah, no, they literally are perfect. And on top of that, Iron Studios they've been teasing a new piece, I believe. I think it's Hammond with a Brachiosaurus.
Oh wow!
If you head to their Instagram,
Iron Studios on Instagram. Let me take a look at this. How does it look?
It's just been a tease.
See, they're good at teasing.
Yeah.
They do some really cool teasing.
Because CCXP, which I attended last year, it's either occurring now or it's coming soon. I think it's coming soon. I believe that's where they're going to unveil their new Jurassic statue.
Oh, wow. I didn't even see that. Look at Grant. That's brilliant.
And do you see the Hammond with the Brachiosaurus?
Hammond, that's the one I'm looking at. It's Hammond looking up at the Brachia.
It's going to be huge.
That's real nice. Yeah, that's real nice, right?
Yeah. So that's going to be a beautiful piece.
Okay, I didn't know that one was coming. That's real good.
And then, of course, there's also Prime One, who are doing some great Jurassic pieces. Again, I feel like for the prices, they look great. They're expensive, but I feel like the overall quality kind of matches up. I've never had, where I've looked at the Iron Studios and Prime One, each time I look at the price in the final product, I go, yeah, no, you know what, that's fair. It seems right in the ballpark of, there's also a range of them, so if you want something for 120, you can get something for 120. If you want something for 800, you can get something for 800. I feel like they're offering a very healthy range of items that you feel align with what you want, and you have choice, and it also seems fair.
Agreed, yeah. There's some really nice stuff out there. But I mean, it's great to see that there's a number of license carriers now. There's a number of companies creating Jurassic products. That's exactly what we wanted.
Yes.
It's variety, and it allows people to kind of mix up their collection and buy things that they have wanted for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Mattel is more in my price range personally, but I love the occasional high quality statue.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, Chris, it's been great speaking to you.
Yes,
and it's been fun having the podcast, recording a podcast again.
Yeah, let's do this. See you in another year.
Yeah, but honestly, to our listeners out there, we do apologize for the delay in another podcast. Sometimes you know what it's like. Everybody knows what life is like, but we are back to it. We are back to it, and it was fun.
Yeah,
talking Jurassic with you again.
So let's do this regularly. Hopefully there'll be some things to talk about. Neither one of us have seen the Lego short film yet, so we'll talk about it the next time we podcast.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you for listening, guys. Check out JurassicOutpost.com for more.
Bye.